Okay, so we're going to continue on the laws of Lashon Hara. We discussed the backgrounds of Lashon Tov. Then we did the ideas of Lashon Hara. Now we're going to go through the 5 categories of Lashon Hara. That's how Chazal, the rabbis, divided up. There are 5 forms of Lashon Hara. Now, Lashon Hara is the general go-to term for all 5 categories, but it is actually one of the categories, as we're going to see in a second, and not even the first one, really. Okay, so Lashon Hara, as we said, is just one of the categories, but it's the go-to term for all 5. Okay, but they're different and each have their own form. The first one we're going to look at is Rechilut. Rechilas or Rechilut, depending if you have the Ashkenazic or Sephardic pronunciation. And this actually is mentioned in the Torah itself, in Vayikra, in Leviticus 19:16. And over there, it says, Lo telech Rachel ba'mecha, do not go and peddle gossip. So Rechilut, they refer to as gossip, but it has a very specific definition. We're going to give it in a second. Ani Hashem, I am God. So what exactly is Rechilut? Well, the word Rachel, or Rachel, is related, says Rashi, to another word which is very similar, and that is regel. Regel is a foot. Foot. Why would the word for gossip be the same as the word for foot?
Opposite of your head.
Is what?
Opposite of your head.
Opposite of your head. Okay, I like that. You may use your head, using your foot instead. Okay, very good, very good. Yeah, could be something there. It could be.
What did you say Rachel was?
Rechilut is gossip.
Oh.
Rachil. That's what the Torah says. And then we said, well, Rashi says that should connect with the word Rechilut, the Rachil and Regel. Well, how does a person spread gossip? Yes.
You run to talk gossip.
You run to talk it. Yeah? Actually, nowadays, 2016, you don't have to run anywhere. To your computer, you know it's good enough, you know, to your phone. All right? But at least in the old days, you have to go and travel in order to share the gossip. You go by foot and move around in order to spread the gossip. Okay? That's Rashi's connection. And you're a peddler. Right? You're a peddler. Peddlers go by foot. They move around and they travel because you're moving around and traveling in order to spread that information. Okay? So that's what we're referring to. How does it work? So Rav Yosef Karo, the Kesef Mishnah, says, Shirachil haino omer, ploni amar lecha kach v'kach. It's a person who's peddling gossip and will say, oh, you know what they said about you, Emily? You know what she said about you?
What?
Nothing, because you're too nice. No one ever say anything bad about you, Emily. But let's just say that a person would say something bad about you. In that situation, that would be a case of gossip. I am now causing you not to like that person. Because I told you what they said about you. And they already spoke the Lashon Hara. They already spoke it. But now I'm saying, oh, she said about you. So I'm moving and I'm helping spread and move it around. That's what they said about you. Okay, and that's what he says. Oh, you know what they did to you? They took all your stuff and they did it and they were nasty and they took it. Right? Even though the information is not intrinsically negative, but can provoke some kind of fight and argument between you and the other party, that's Rechilut. It's called because you're carrying information about one person and you're giving it to another person, and like, oh, she said that about you, and she wants to do this to you, and all this is going to cause fight. All of this, I think, as it's negative, but now you're going to have bad feelings towards this person, even if it's true. Okay? That's called Rechilut, and that's a problem. Okay? Says Rabbeinu Yonah, who lived in Gerona. You want to write all these 5 categories down. Okay? So we're going to call Rechilut gossip, although the definition I just gave you is the correct definition. Right? It's peddling. It's peddling information, if you will, about telling you something that other people said about you or want to do to you. Okay? And or assume over here, it's not constructive in any way, shape, or form. If it's constructive, then we're going to see later on, after Pesach, we'll see exactly how that works. Okay? Says Rabbeinu Yonah, we're on page 119. Sorry, 120 right now. The nizak rechilut, the damage of this rechilut, of this gossip, you have to learn these terms. Rechilut, write it down. Chadal spoki ein mispar, is incalculable. It's so bad. He's like, what happens when you do this and you start causing arguments and hatred between people, right? By me telling you, right? And then me telling Hannah what people thought about her. And she'll start hating, we're going to start hating each other. It's going to cause a lot of disunity and hatred and anger and fighting and divorces and company breakups and family breakups and community breakdowns and countries, who knows? The whole thing's going to implode. He says, that's why he says, Ki ein mispar, there's no number, you don't know how bad it's going to be. Because once it gets out, once I start having Emily hate people and Hannah hate, and everyone start hating people, it's going to be trouble. Okay? And it's going to make many people transgress what it says in the Torah. Do not hate your brother in your heart. You're not allowed to hate another person. By me doing this, you're going to hate them. If I told you that, use a fake name, Shoshana says something about you, you're going to hate her. What are you going to start doing immediately? What are you going to do?
Well, we're going to talk about her.
You're going to talk about her. You're going to take revenge against her. You're going to bear a grudge against her. You're going to be angry. You may punch her in the face. You're going to kick her, not with that foot, because it's not so good, that foot, the other foot. Right? You'll find some way, Emily, of hurting them, right? We don't want that to happen. We want to keep shalom bein adam lechaveiro. We want to keep friendship between people and each other. V'hinei ha'olam kayem al hashalom, because the entire world sits and rests on peace. We've got to try to keep, this is a major theory in Jewish thought. We want to keep peace as much as possible. Now it's hard to believe that. It seems like Jews are always arguing. It's not the right way. We want to keep peace. Through anger and hatred, right? The entire world is going to fall apart. It may start with one person, but one becomes 3, and 3 becomes 10, and 10 becomes 50, and eventually everyone starts hating everyone else, right? And now you go online, you type one thing, right? You got a face, say something bad about someone. Whoa, the whole world knows about it. It's like we're like living in a world of potential. It used to be one person found out. He went to find another shloimi who was in the baker store, who went to the shochet, who told him, in the old country. 3 people found out about it. It was a lot of schlepping. Now you type in one thing, millions of people can see it. It's unbelievable. You see it. You see what they do to the politicians publicly now, You just completely slaughter them. Personal attacks. True or not true, it's unbelievable. This is a big, big challenge for us. We have to be very, very careful what we hear, and particularly what we say to other people. We don't want to be the catalyst that let that information pass on. Okay? Are we clear on this? That's rechilot. Okay. 2 is lashon hara. Now, lashon hara, we're going to define as harmful and derogatory. Harmful or derogatory. This stuff is the destructive stuff. Okay? This in itself is going to lead to real arguments and fights between people, and that's lashon hara. So this is number 1, and this is number 2. Okay? Now, what's fascinating about lashon hara is that in order to be lashon hara, it's got to be true. Truth is its defining point. In order to be lashon hara, it has to be true. Okay? How do we define derogatory? How do we define harmful? So derogatory is it might cause people to think less of the other person, and harmful, it might cause physical, emotional, financial harm to the person. Okay? What's the difference between rechilot and lashon hara? So rechilot is me telling Emily, you know what she said about you? Lashon hara is me telling Emily something which is going to cause harm to another person, but you know what that person is? And me talking bad about another person. Not what she said about you, but what I'm telling you about someone else. That's lashon hara. And in order to be lashon hara, it must be true. If it's not true, it's going to be something else we see in a second. So lashon hara is bad speech, which I'm sharing, which is going to be spread around somewhere else.
Isn't that gossip also? Gossip, you also...
Gossip? Gossip, no. Gossip is I'm coming to this one person and saying what she said about you. Lashon hara, and it may not be that...
Oh, you're saying it about that? Okay,
Here, I'm speaking to other people. Yes, Jordan?
I was wondering, like, when you said that you also can't talk nicely about someone if you find out that person you're talking to doesn't like that person you're talking about.
Right, you shouldn't overpraise someone to somebody else if you know that there's other people present who don't like that person. Because you know, oh, she's so sweet, she's so lovely.
Is that part of this category? Because like the person that's harming isn't the subject?
Is that part of Lashon Hara? It can cause and lead to Lashon Hara, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It can cause and lead to it. It may not be it in itself. It's not Lashon Hara in itself because I'm saying something good about the person. Right? But I have to have certain foresight that you don't like this person and you got into a fight with them, which I wasn't aware of, you know, or maybe I was aware of, probably more accurately, and they can end up trashing them. You know, she's not so good. You know what she did to me? Bah, 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 bah. It's going to cause Lashon Hara to be spoken. But complimenting a person, someone else, is a mitzvah. You should do that. You should say, Jordan's a lovely girl, she's sweet. You know, Emily's always so kind. It's okay to say good things about people. You should be doing that. That's Lashon Tov. Okay? So let's look at the Rambam in Mishnah Torah. And the Rambam is going to define this Lashon Hara for us. And he says, look how he introduces it. Unbelievable. Yesh avon gadol mizeh ad ma'od. This is extreme bad. Everyone's talking about this in a very, very bad way. Right? They don't say eating on kosher, that's really, really bad. It's like, this is really, really bad. Ad ma'od. That's like, not good. V'hu b'klal, lav zevu lashon hara. And this is the prohibition included to do not peddle gossip or rechilot, which is called lashon hara. So he's adding on to it. This is, you talk about something bad about another person, even though it's true, and this information is going to be harmful. It's derogatory. You're going to think less of them, or it's going to cause them physical, emotional, financial harm in some way. B'chol abal lashon hara zeh shu yoshev v'omer kach chasa ploni kach hu avatav kach shemati alav v'omer divrei genai. Right? Someone speaks Lashon Hara will say something negative. So and so did the following, or you know what their parents are like. Their parents did bad. Like, good Rambam, once you start doing that, you're going to think bad about the kids as well. Or do you know what I heard about them? And they ba 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 ba. Yep. Interesting. We spoke about this before. One of the physical ailments that came into a person's book Lashon Hara was they got tsarat, a skin condition. Tsarat is a skin condition, right? And they became a mitzvah. And there's a way they got cleansed. How did they get cleansed? They had to separate from the camp, right? For a week, right? Separate outside the camp. Why? Because through their speech, they separated people, so we separate them. It's very embarrassing for them. Added a great rate about busha. Part of the purification process was they had to bring a bird, right? A bird of sacrifice. Why a bird? Because birds chipper and chatter the whole time. And the Ishmael was like that bird, just constantly chatting and talking, and let it just come out without any filter whatsoever. Unfiltered chirping or tweeting in today's parlance. Yes? Okay. Yeah.
What if the speech is like not neutral, but it can kind of be like, let's say if you just say, like, oh, did you see that person's like house? It's so big.
Great question. That we're going to see is something called avak lashon hara, which we're going to come to in a second. Okay, that is, it ain't so bad, but it could be interpreted as bad. That is not considered as bad as lashon hara outright, and the Rambam tells us where that this is something which most people are transgressing like all the time, you know. But we'll see about that in a second. Okay, so that's going to be one form as well. So basically, a person goes around and they talk bad things, and it's going to cause financial pain. You know, I'm like, oh, I don't like a person. So I'm going to tell Kayla, I'm like, Kayla, don't do business with them. Don't be friends with her. You know what? She's nasty. And you know what? She is nasty. But maybe you could become friends with her and make it better. Or maybe she's not going to be nasty to you. Me telling you that about her, it's Lashon Hara. Now you're not going to like her. You're going to tell other people not to speak. Tell them you have second-hand, third-hand, fourth-hand information. You're not going to go on vacation or hang out or study with her, whatever it is. Lashon Hara has been spoken. Yeah.
What if it's like roommates or something like that in real life?
It's a problem. There's no dispensation, right? There's not even a dispensation for married couples. Now we're going to make a list of when you can actually speak Lashon Hara, and then it becomes Lashon Tov, right? In order to stop a person's suffering.
But let's say you know like two people are gonna room together. One hates when it's messy. One is a total like it always makes a mess, and they want to room together, but I guess they just.
Have they asked you?
No.
None of your business. They'll have to learn to work well with each other.
Yeah.
They just tell each other straight.
That's it. They have to work it out.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you can live with the guys very messy one day as well. Don't worry, you'll work it out. Vamasapa devarim, yes.
Speak Lashon Hara about yourself.
Great question.
No.
Can you speak Lashon about yourself? So there's a famous story. I think I mentioned it last class.
Yeah,
in terms
yeah.
of the Chavis Chaim has a whole story of when he was on a coach and someone didn't know it was him, and he started to say, "I'm going to visit the great rabbi of the Chavis Chaim," not knowing that it was him. And the Chavis Chaim turned around to him and said, "Chavis Chaim, he's not so great. How dare you speak about the great Chavis Chaim that way?" Because he was trying to be humble, and he got a smack in the face. Guy gave him a smack in the face, and realized later on it was actually the Chavis Chaim in the wagon with him. So they say you shouldn't. No, you probably shouldn't speak Lashon Hara about yourself. Right? As well as being problem of you have to love yourself as well. Okay? Unless it's there to help you go through therapy in order to improve yourself, then it's permitted. Then I did something, and but doing something that's going to cause you self-harm or pain or something else is not permitted. So he says, "V'amasapet devarim shegarim im nishmu ish mepi ish lahazik chavero." Lashon Hara also consists of information that, if publicized, could cause financial, right? The goof or mamano, physical, or mamono, financial. That filu latzar lo or lafchido harizah Lashon Hara. Even it causes a person emotional pain or gives them a fright. All this is considered to be bad stuff. Okay, that's Lashon Hara. So Lashon Hara is, once again, just so we get our terms, Rechilut is gossip. You know what I heard about you. Lashon Hara, which is included in this, is I'm going to speak bad about other people, though it's true, but it's going to cause them somehow some kind of harm. Emotional, financial, think of examples, as I said, right? You'll say to Leor, my gosh, she's so stay away from her. Don't be friends with her. You know what she did to me? You know how stupid she is? She got 5%. Whatever it is. It's nothing positive. It's just negative. You're going to think bad of her. You're going to not want to be friends with her. You don't want to help her out. Whatever it is. C'est a problem. It's a problem. Okay? Okay. So let's do the third category. So the third one is Motzi Shem Ra. Motzi Shem Ra. Motzi Shem Ra literally means Motzi. What does Motzi mean?
To get out.
To bring out. To bring out. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. To bring out and brings out the bread of the earth. Shem Ra. Bring out a
Bad name.
bad name. Right. What does it mean, bring out a bad name? So this is actually derogatory speech that is untrue. It's derogatory, harmful speech that is untrue. Lashon Hara has got to be true. This is untrue. I guess you'd call it, into modern society, libelous. And even American law has a problem with this stuff. Okay? Even American side has a problem with, spreading this kind of information. Vala omer sheka, a person says sheker, nikra motzi shemra al-chaveiro, says the Rambam. Okay? Someone who speaks derogatory, harmful information about someone else is untrue is called a slanderer. You're talking slander. That's slanderous. That's slander. It's not true. Alright? I spread a rumor that Kayla stole $1 million. Okay? She didn't. She didn't. Okay? So therefore, that would be Motzi Shem Ra. Why do this called Motzi Shem Ra? Why would that be the title given to this form of Lashon Hara? Motzi Shem Ra.
Because you're hurting the person's reputation by speaking slander about them?
Right. I think a person's name means their reputation. Don't mean ruin their name. Their name is David, right? Now it's on right? It means the reputation. Your name is all you have. Your name really is your essence, and it's a very important factor and feature of who you are. Right? So we don't want to mess with that. We do not want to work and to mess with a person's reputation, okay? And telling lies about them is considered to be terrible, okay? It seems to be
Is the
terrible.
worst.
What?
Would this one be the worst?
Interestingly, Lashon Hara is considered to be the worst. Lashon Hara, they're all bad, But
Why?
lashon hara seems to be the worst.
Why would saying? I feel like saying something that's not true is worse than saying something that's true. 'Cause,
I
like,
know,
usually
weird,
those
right?
that ends up coming out anyways. Not
I
something
know.
that's good at all.
See, the thing is with I don't know. It's a good question. I think if something is not true, eventually it'll be figured out. If something is true, you see it's true. Right? I can corroborate it. Look, here are the articles. Here's the information. I have the truth of it. If it's not true, maybe eventually the truth can come out to clear the person's name. But if it is true, what's going to come out to clear their name? Right? The information spread. It's terrible.
That makes sense because, like, in psychology class, like, we learned, like, there are ads, like, anti-smoking ads or something, and some commercials that have, like, really unrealistic, like, symptoms of smoking, and then and people don't relate to it because they're like, oh, it's not true, it's not going to happen to me. And the ones that are realistic, people actually relate to it more, even though it's kind of scary. So, like, the truth is more damaging than, like, something that's not true. People figure it out.
Very good, very good. I like that. Something truth is more viable.
Yeah.
All right, sheker falsehood. You know what I'm saying? Kayla steal $1 million? I don't think so. All right. Kayla stealing $10. Yeah.
So is it bad to hear about the news?
What news?
Like media news, like about people,
I tell you something.
sports players and stuff like that.
It's tricky. The person spreading it is really, you taking and believing it, and if it's gonna cause harm to them, it could be. However, there is a halacha that once information is out there and everyone knows about it, then maybe, and it's a known thing, still shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But once it's once it's out more than a few people know about it and it's spread, you hearing it may not be the worst thing because you're not going to add any more, If you were to try to add more pain, then it would be a problem.
Yeah.
But once it becomes public information, it's known in the public realm, that's something else. That's something else. Okay? That's number 3. That's derogatory, harmful speech. That is untrue, and we want to be very careful. By the way, lying itself is another prohibition, but it falls under here. Right? You shouldn't lie. You should try to be truthful people. Right? Lying itself carries with it many, many problems. Okay, but lying is not one of the 10 commandments. It falls under this category of lashon hara. Okay. Number 4. Number 4 is onat devarim. Onat devarim, I think, is really going to be understood as any kind of speech that causes harm. Onat devarim. This is harmful speech. Okay? It's harmful. Now, that may not actually even involve somebody else. This could even happen between 2 people. Okay? And this is a prohibition, which probably we're mostly liable for most of the time, of just saying nasty things to people and upsetting them or embarrassing them or giving them emotional pain. Calling people silly names, and this stays with people. This stays with people a long time, You get called something as a kid, you're bullied by someone. They're not spreading information, they're just being nasty to you. And they don't want you to call that name, that's a problem. If someone has a nickname that they don't mind and becomes their nickname, right? I don't mean like a nickname like Stupid Head, right? I mean a nickname like, I don't know, cool guy, right? Whatever it is, I know someone actually who had a son who was in school was a real tearaway, right? Running around and not behaving. So he changed his name to Best Boy. Best Boy, that's what he called him. Guy in the city. And he said, first he just called him Best Boy. And the guy is the guy is now married with kids. And he calls him Best Boy. That's what he calls him. He's not in the family, he's Best Boy. They don't think about it. Best Boy, can you come here, please? Right? So such a name would be permitted because you're instilling some kind of, reverse psychology on the kid. I don't know what it is, right? Reverse psychology. It worked actually. He's a good kid. Well, he's a grown man at this point, but he's still called best boy by his kids. That would be permitted if it's acceptable and it's doing some good. But to call people, don't we date, whatever it is. That if a person accepts that, then it's okay. Okay? We're talking about stuff that's going to cause emotional distress. And this is a terrible, terrible sin. Unfortunately, we live in a society where bullying, right, is very, very prevalent. Right? And most bullying does not happen physically. Most people don't bully people by smacking them in the head. Right? Especially not girls. Right? Bullying among girls usually doesn't involve going up to them, just banging them and punching them in the face. Well, I hope not. However, emotional pain is much worse. Because sticks and stones can break bones. But words can really hurt people and last forever. Because eventually the bones will break and they'll heal. But the emotional pain people take the rest of their lives. The rest of their lives they carry with them. So bullying people with words and derogatory words to destroy them, to hurt them, upset them, is a form of Lashon Hara. And it's onat varim. And let's have a look what the Rambam says. Shehizheranu ma'anot ketzatenu et kesatonu b'dvarim. To cause emotional pain to other people through our b'dvarim, with our words. Ushna lo mamrim yechavu v'yechasu v'lo yachol lamod mipnei shitbaish behem. This includes statements that cause another person pain, anger, embarrassment. I want to talk about embarrassment for a moment because we don't discuss it. But embarrassing someone else is considered to be one of the worst things you can do. It's akin to killing them. It's as though when you embarrass someone, it's as though you're killing them. And this is tough for me because I constantly tell jokes about people, and to people I have to be very, very careful. I have to work on this the whole time. Right? Because I immediately, I come from a place where, sarcastic humor at people's expense, especially other people's expense, it's considered to be but embarrassing someone in public, what's called malbin panav, making their face white, right? Is you're making the blood rush away from their face. It's considered to be a terrible, terrible sin, and is not acceptable. There are many stories where people are willing to give up their life not to embarrass someone. Does anyone know of a biblical story you may have learnt already, where someone was willing to give up their life not to embarrass someone else? A biblical character? Tamar was married to Yehuda's sons, right? One, and then he died, and she married the other one, Evonen. And she ended up wanting to have children through Yehuda, their father. And she dressed up as a harlot, and that night he was with her. So sorry how that happened. And he left her with some stuff as a sign he was going to pay her. And eventually, when it was about to become revealed, what's happened? She was willing to let herself die, right, rather than embarrass him publicly by sin. He realized this was from Min HaShamayim and he deserved this, and he did it himself, and it became known. But she was not going to do it. She was willing to give up her life rather than embarrass someone else. And you hear many such stories of people who just to stay away from this terrible thing of embarrassing other people. Actually, I'll say, and the Gemara actually says the person should throw themselves into a fiery furnace. They learn that from the story of Yehuda and Tamar rather than embarrass somebody else. It's such a bad thing. When it comes to kids take embarrassment very badly. Very badly. And it's very tough because as a parent, I'm constantly striving to embarrass my kids. So it's very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult. You go somewhere and you dress a certain way, and your kids are like, you can't dress like that, you're embarrassing me. Kids are like that, you know what I'm talking about? You ever like that? Your parents came, drop you off at school wearing a bath gown with, the hair all done up, you know what I'm talking about? And embarrassing them, you ever did that? You didn't care how your parents dressed?
You do that, Rabbi?
What? Yeah, I turn up and I'm like, no, but I'll go somewhere, and I'm like, why are you wearing that for? You're embarrassing me. Or I got off to speak at a high school recently, a religious girls' high school. And my daughter happens to know some of the girls there. I spoke at brewery on Friday, I spoke at the town. I speak at different schools sometimes. It's not my main job, but sometimes I ask me to speak, so I go and speak to the whole school. So my daughter finds out, and she's mortified. My other daughter, she's like, oh, come speak at my school. This one, she's like, no, the rabbi, you're embarrassed. You say something to embarrass me. I'm like, well, they're going to love it. Right? They're going to and they did love it. No, you're going to embarrass me. It's difficult. Very, very difficult. Right? What do? I went. And then a friend's called and says, you're the coolest father ever. Just so you know. I just want to clear the air over here. This guy was the best guy you ever met. You're so lucky. Oh, then she calmed down a little bit. Right? Oh, they said it. But yeah, it's difficult. Right? Oh, you get up, you got to drive them somewhere, you're not dressed like they want to be seen. My wife walks into my daughter's high school. Oh my God. Get out. Don't come out. I don't want friends to see you. Stop saying that in front of my friends. You weren't embarrassed by your parents ever? What are you talking about, you people? Yeah, you had that? Your parents said something.
No.
You know what? You're going to do it to your kids. All the stuff you said you never do to your kids, because your parents did it to you, you're going to do it to your kids. Embarrassing someone is terrible. Now, sometimes you got to do it, all right? I got to, get over it. But sometimes, embarrassing someone, especially intentionally, right, is a terrible, terrible thing, right? And it scars them, meaning it stays with them sometimes for years, if not decades, until they're mature enough to at least hopefully overcome it. Okay? So that's the Rambam. That's one form of it. Okay? But getting angry with someone, cursing someone out, shouting at them, irritating them, this is all on devarim, and this is causing pain. Right? Although there's no other person involved, it's just two people. If it's embarrassment, it probably doesn't involve other people. But just upsetting someone with your words is a form of lashon hara. Is it as bad as actual lashon hara, category number 2, rechilut? I don't know. Could be. And by the way, all these forms of lashon hara are not just speech. Not just speech. They can be done through the written word, through gestures. Right? You say to me, "What do you think of Kayla?" I'm like, right, rolling with the eyes, which I would never do because Kayla's lovely. Right? But whatever it is, this is going to be a problem. Okay? All these forms of negativity through hand gestures while you're driving and someone cuts you off. Yeah, these are problematic. Okay, so that's onat devarim. Okay. By the way, I want to mention reminding someone of their past is also a problem. Oh, you're like this now, but I remember when you were like beep, 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 beep. Because when you were a kid, you used to, I get this a little bit. I was a bit of a crazy kid, not too bad, but I was very fresh and I got on some mischief. Like, oh, you're a rabbi now. I remember you when you're, I'm like, all right, keep it down. Love, we all know, I don't have to have all the details, So saying that everyone did bad stuff when they were a child, especially as a teenager, right? Except you, Leo, you did nothing wrong at all. You were the perfect child. But for the rest of us mortals in here who got up to mischief as teenagers, you can't go up to them when they're adults and be like, oh, I remember when your mother, yeah, right, and your father, he used to, yeah, no, that's not acceptable. Okay? So that is also going to be a problem. Reminding someone of their past, from when they were a child, or when they weren't religious. Right? Oh, you're religious now, but I remember when you were, I remember you used to walk around in your diaper, right? As a 15-year-old, okay, whatever it is, right? You get the idea, right? So all this is problem, okay? And using, we said nicknames are a problem of this, remind people of their past, right? Or, what a stupid question, right? Imagine saying that to someone. What a stupid question. That's the worst thing any teacher can ever say. I hope I've never said that to any of you ever. Right? What? Did you just ask that? That is the stupid, terrible thing to say to someone. That's onat devarim. Right? And what does it stop them doing? Asking more questions. And it could be maybe it was a stupid question. Actually, there's no such thing as a stupid question. There are stupid answers. Oh, there's plenty of those around. The stupid question is not acceptable. Not acceptable. Making fun of someone's name, even if their name is funny, right? Their name is Apple Moonbeam, I don't know, Scratchhead, I don't know, whatever it is. It's not, it's their name, right? It sounds like a weird name to you. You can't go, oh, that's your parents called you that? Were they drunk? Right? You can't say anything like that at all. Right? No matter how stupid it seems to you, in their culture, their family, it's a good name. I know because I have an unusual name. Yeah.
Is it considered like lashon hara whenever you just like talk about someone that kind of doesn't have like an influence in your life, like you're, like that person's like let's say for celebrities, let's say if you talk about celebrities, is that
So
is
look,
like,
truth be told,
is
you
that
talk
an influence
you talk
in
about
your
them,
life?
and it's out there, and probably it's still not a good thing to do. Right? Is it real technical lashon hara? Probably not, because it's so well known. You know. The only time you should speak is when it's going to actually help someone through what you're saying. Right? If what you're saying is going to stop them following that celebrity, that's a mitzvah. Don't follow them, they're an idiot. That's a good thing to say. Don't waste your time following all the nonsense that they're, tweeting and all the rest of it. I don't get this whole thing, following celebrity. I really don't get it. Well, actually I do. And it comes from a deep insecurity of, which as a child we have, and we all have like idols as children, right? But then when you get older and you still like idolize someone, you like, it doesn't do any good. It's just like, plenty of good people to idolize rather than the not so good people. Okay? Are we clear on this? We're reading a lot today, I understand. The last category is actually the trickiest. Okay? And this is number 5 of our 5 categories of Lashon Hara. This is Avak Lashon Hara. Avak Lashon Hara. Now, Avak means Avak,
Like a heart.
dust. Dust. The dust of Lashon. What's the dust of Lashon Hara? Why would it be called the dust of Lashon Hara?
Like once you say something, you can't. Like once you say something, you can't take it back, and it's like left in there.
That's Lashon Hara. That's not Avak Lashon Hara. Yeah.
Would it be someone reacting to what someone else says?
Someone reacting to what someone says. I would say possibly reacting,
But,
but
participating.
interpreting information which may not have been given in a form that you actually wanted to make any derogatory comment. Right? I'm talking to Gabrielle, right? And we're schmoozing. And I'm like, that girl, Shoshana? Right? Imaginary girl. She's always got so much food in her fridge. Is that Lashon Hara?
It depends what your connotation is. So it's kind of what I was saying before. Like, it's just like a comment that someone could be like, "Oh my God, what are they trying to insinuate about that?"
So what do they insinuate about? Well, what are the 2 options? Give me a positive and a negative.
She eats a lot, which is fine.
She eats a lot, right? And she's greedy, she's a glutton, or
She's like always responsible, no shopping.
always responsible, she always goes shopping, she has guests in her house, willing to feed people. What'd you say?
I said like always offers.
Always offers to help food for other people. So when you say that statement, it can be understood in 2 ways, and you've actually got to be careful. That's tough. It's not as bad as Lashon Hara, right? Because it could be the connotations are good, but you have to think about even those comments, yeah.
Doesn't that overlap with judgment?
It's that person's job to judge them favorably. But it's not really about them, it's about you. You have to be careful because it could be insinuated that there's something negative here. I'm giving them a job and a possibility, right? Wow. It's really common. The Gemara gives interesting examples of this. It says, for example, let's say someone in their family was caught as a criminal. We don't have to say anyway, and they were hanged. They were hanged for a certain thing, right? Someone's, I don't know, great aunt. You shouldn't walk into the house and be like, "Could you hang this meat for me?" Could you hang all these saucepans up there? Because that word, that is like a negative connotation over here, is going to upset them. The Rambam actually gives some examples. This is a bit tricky to figure out. But he says, Yesh Devarim she'en avak lashon hara. Shehen avak lashon hara. Which are dust of lashon hara. Something close to the actual transgression. You're not actually there. The dust of it means it's surrounding it, but it's not actually it. Yeah? It's just close to it. Kigon. Misha malaploni shiyeh kamashu ata. Right? Some examples are, who would have thought that so-and-so would turn out like they are today? Wow. Who would have thought Kayla would have turned out as good as she is today? Now, that's a compliment.
It's like a backhanded compliment.
But it's backhanded compliments.
Yeah.
Backhanded, because what am I saying?
I was bad before.
She was bad before. Right? She was bad before. I knew her when she was like, and now that I can't say, oh, she's doing fantastically. No. Who would have thought she'd turn out such a nice girl, right? So about Lashon Hara. Because now it's not Lashon Hara. I didn't say what she did wrong. I didn't say what she's like. You're interpreting it. But I'm leading you there. And you're going to be like, well, what was she like before? Give us the juicy gossip. It's called juicy gossip for a reason, because it's juicy and yummy, right? If speaking gossip felt like a poke in the eye, it wouldn't be such a big problem. That's not what's described. It's not called poke in the eye gossip. It's called juicy gossip. Or sheomer, shatkol miplani. Let's not talk about so and so. Any roselo dia mahaya umayra. I don't want to tell you what happened to them. What am I implying? Something bad happened. Right? You're opening the door for further discussion. In and of itself, you're like, whoa, what's going on with them? I'm steering well clear. I don't get, killed by them, whatever it is. Or v'chol ha'mesaper b'tova chaveiro, or you say good things about your friend. Point number 3. Mipnei sonav, in front of the people who don't like them. Harizeh avat lashon hara. That's why is that avat lashon hara? Shezeh gorem lehem shisapru b'gnusov, because immediately what they're going to do. Let's say Jordan gets into a fight with Shayna, right? And I know that Jordan's like Shayna right now, and I know she's angry with her. Okay, I'm like, Jordan, you know how lovely Shayna is. You know how sweet she is. What's Jordan going to do?
Trying to convince you of them.
She's like, oh no, you don't know the real Shayna, all right? The real Shayna is a very, very nice girl. Okay, but you had a bad fight with her. It's understandable. You're going to speak. Now, I didn't say anything bad about her. I said good things about her. She's so nice. That's avat lashon hara. It's going to cause it's not lashon hara, but it's going to cause lashon hara to be spoken. Yeah.
What if you, the conversation didn't start and you started speaking about somebody in a positive way and you didn't know it was a sensitive subject for somebody else, and then they start talking.
Okay, so they're your honest. They're it's not your fault. You never knew, right? You never knew. Who understood? Who knew that this was a situation you guys were in? Once they start speaking, stop them, right? Or if you can't, if you're stuck somewhere, you're not makabel. You don't accept the report. You don't accept it. I'm not makabel. We said that's always the final get out is, I'm hearing what they're saying, but I'm not accepting it. I don't believe it. It's difficult. Very, very difficult. But that's what you're going for. Okay? Now, here's the tough one. Number 4 of Avat Lashon Hara. V'chein ha'mesaper lashon hara, derech schok, the derech colored rosh, kol ma she'eino medaber b'sina. I'm not going to cause any harm. I'm just telling jokes about them. Right? There's no malice. I'm speaking lightheartedly. So it's not Lashon Hara itself, because Lashon Hara is your intentionally trying to, causing, hatred and anger. But here, she's so stingy. She never gives any money. How stingy is she? When she opens her purse, flies come out. I don't know. You'll find some, By the way, I should add. Let me just quick do shuv over this one. Speaking negatively of a certain group of people. Students, communities, cultural backgrounds. Whoops! That's also Avat Lashon Hara. Right? They say that the Chavetz Chaim was once watching a Purim play, and a Purim play would dress up as other people and make jokes, and halfway through he stopped the play and said, that's Lashon Hara, you can't do that. Generally speaking, of certain times we have certain leeway to make jokes a little bit more. Right? I've heard from someone that during Sheva Brachot or something, we don't offend a person, but telling jokes and light-hearted comments are acceptable at certain times. Purim, we make funny plays, but there's a gvul, there's a point, And so for you, it's a joke, but for other people, maybe it's not. So you start thinking bad about certain groups of people. Those groups of people are so stingy. Oh, those group, they beat their wives. It's true. They have been known to, right? And you're not doing it for protective, you're just making, that's avak lashon hara. Because you're saying as a joke. Yeah.
How do you recommend like going around someone who's asking you to give gossips, or like, this is a complete example. Let's say like you two friends are fighting and like you were there, and then someone's like, oh, tell me like what happened between them, and you're like, you don't want to tell them.
So we're going to come to it. Could be that you hearing it is going to help to bring shalom between them. Then it could be permitted.
You know what I'm saying? Like someone, like another friend, a separate friend, is like, what happened between them? Tell me, and like you don't want to tell them.
It's stuff we do all the time, isn't it? Unbelievable.
Like so many times, I'm like, what happened? What happened? Tell me what
So
happened.
she said, and then she said back to her, and then she said that she's going to do this if she says this stuff. I know.
Like, how do you get out of it?
Problem, right? You say, oh, I don't know. I got no idea.
They'll just be like,
Um,
you know you were there
So
also.
that's an interesting point. You're lying. You're allowed to lie. Actually, if you're allowed to lie, it's not because you're not allowed to lie. But if you're going to bring shalom through your words, and we see many examples of this in the Torah itself, even HaKadosh Baruch Hu changes certain quote-unquote truths in order to keep shalom between people, then you're allowed to.
So man and wife have to keep shalom by something.
Sometimes, and therefore it's not a lie, because lies are forbidden.
That can be dangerous.
So certain things you do in order to keep shalom. Sometimes, well, there's a difference between telling a lie and not telling the truth. Right? Telling the truth about everything. The kids say, "Where were you?" and you don't want to say where you were. Right? So you don't tell them the truth. Right? You don't have to tell them. I'm not. Well, I don't know. Where's your mother? I don't know. You know where she is. We don't want to start a whole conversation. They have to know everything. So I don't know. You do know. I'm not going to tell you the truth. I'm not lying. I'm just not going to tell you the truth.
But can that be contradictory to other mitzvot too?
Such as.
Like, what if, God forbid, there's a couple, they have a beautiful family, but one of the parents is having an affair or something, but doesn't say it, like, lies about it whenever they ask where he was or whatever to keep shalom by it, but it's like you're already doing adultery.
I tell you, there's times and ways for it to happen. Not so simple that everyone has to know everything about someone. If there's no constructive purpose, why should everyone know? There's times when they should know.
But usually there's.
It's not so. I'm just saying it's not so black and white.
Usually there's
If you know by spreading information, right, she's going to hate her husband or vice versa, and there's no productive, and there's no danger of her right now by her knowing that from his past she did this, right? I'll give you an example. Do you have to reveal your entire past to the person you're about to marry?
No, I don't think so.
100% not.
But what if it's currently happening?
Keep it. That could be a problem. That could be a problem, right?
So sad.
Everyone's got skeletons in their closet. In
Yeah.
their past, right? Or stuff they shouldn't be doing right now. Do you have to tell, wait, to keep shalom by, there's certain things you can change or keep shalom by it. Right? It's not so simple to figure out exactly where and when, but some things. If you feel that thing is still a threat to that person, then maybe you're required to give it over.
What do you
But
mean by threat? Like physically?
emotionally, financially, whatever it is.
But usually anytime you keep someone from something, it's usually because you feel like saying the truth isn't constructive. So
Right?
like,
So if it's constructive, then right, but not always.
like if you like the mom asks like her child like where were you, and the girl like wants some, like did something that she knows her mom's like not gonna be happy about, like if she said the truth she knew that wouldn't that wouldn't cause anything good, but obviously you need to say the truth in that case.
Could be. If you know someone's out with a friend and doing something, and the mother says, "You know what my daughter is," and she's out where she shouldn't be, it could be that that's constructive. You have to tell her. Yeah. If you knew what my daughter was and you knew that I don't want to be there, you better tell me. I'll tell you right now, you people. You know. Yeah. These are all good questions. I'm not saying I have the answer to all these questions, but it's good to know they're questions. It's not so simple. You have to think through. All right. If you know that someone's, a good friend of yours tells, "I'm going to hang out with that guy or that girl who he knows," and the mother says, "You know what my daughter is?" "I don't know." All right. That's simple. But then to implicate yourself is also not so simple. You have no obligation to implicate yourself in other people's problems. Now, you have no mitzvah to implicate yourself and to make yourself look bad in someone else's eyes. But if they're at risk, then you probably have to. You can't stand by where someone else's blood is being shed. One who feigns innocence as though he's not aware of the fact he's speaking Lashon. Oh, I didn't know it was Lashon Hara to tell, Rachel that this person's such a bad individual. Feigning innocence is not sufficient. So that's Avak Lashon. Those are the 5 forms of Lashon Hara. Let's do them again. We said we have Rechilut. Rechilut is gossip. Right? So you know what she said about you? Right? Well, not so bad, but now you're going to not like her so much because of this information. That's bad. That's peddling the gossip. Second is Lashon Hara. Lashon Hara, we said, is true. True information about someone. They're a loser, they're a jerk, they're nasty, whatever. There's nothing constructive by sharing it, and now you're going to not like that person or hate them or take the money away or not work with them. That's considered terrible. That's Lashon Hara. Then we have Motzi Shemra. That's false. You're lying about someone, right? Because you don't want to go into business with them, you don't want to hang out with them, you don't want to be friends with them, right? That's also a form of Lashon Hara. Then we have Motzi Shemra. Motzi Shemra, we said, is causing someone pain by your words or actions, right? You're causing them distress. You're embarrassing them. You're upsetting them. That's a problem as well. And finally, Avak Lashon. Avak Lashon is, it's not actual Lashon Hara, but you're getting close. You're dancing around it. You're hanging around, and it's going to get you there eventually, right? You're going to say something which embarrasses a person. You're going to say something which could upset them. Ambiguous comments that could lead to it. Wow, she's got so much expensive clothing. Wow, her house is so big. Right. So it's like, oh my goodness. Right? You're saying that, these are unnecessary things. And that's what the Chavis Chaim adds to this. Bottom page 123. He says method of communication. It doesn't have to be verbal, it can be written, right? Or even hinting it could be a problem. Turn over the page. So we said there's 3 forms of people involved in Lashon Hara. The speaker, the listener, and the one being spoken about. And we said the worst of the 3 is the listener, because they're accepting it. That's what the Chavis Chaim says. Asor lekabel Lashon Hara min haTorah. It's forbidden from the Torah to accept it, mekabel, to receive it. The hainu shalon namin b'libeinu shasipu emet. You shouldn't believe in your heart that it's true. It enters your ears, but it's going to stay in your ears, and they're going to say, "I don't believe it." Do not accept a false report, says the Chavis Chaim. You're accepting a false report. It's a Torah prohibition. By the way, Lashon Hara isn't just one thing. When you hear Lashon Hara, right, it could be actually you are, says the Chavis Chaim, you are, in his introduction to the Sefer Lashon Hara, actually transgressing a whole bunch of sins. Anger, not loving your favorite, not loving someone in your heart like you have to, hating another person, bearing a grudge. There's a whole bunch of other stuff over here. It's not one Aveira, it's a whole bunch of them. This is not one thing, it's a collection, it's a group, collective term. It is also been to intentionally listen to Lashon Hara, even if you have no intention. After you shouldn't listen to it, even though, I'm going to listen, but I'm not going to believe it. And you can't practically try to listen to it and try not to believe it, because eventually you may end up believing it. We're talking about if you're stuck in a situation where you have no choice, you're stuck in a car, stuck between 2 people, and you forgot your headphones, and your arms are trapped by your side, you can't put your fingers in your... That scenario, then you can't believe it. You can't try to listen to them. Right? There's the difference between listening and believing. If you can't help but listen, then you don't believe. Because listening, he says, listening is forbidden if the information does not pertain to him. However, if it does pertain to him, and it's going to actually pertain to him in the future, it's going to end up damaging, harm someone else, right? Then the derogatory statement is now being believed, and it's going to end up going forward. Okay? Or you want to protect yourself. I'm listening because I want to protect myself. protecting yourself, we'll see next class, is acceptable. If someone knows that that person's, I don't know, a child abuser, it's known information, this person doesn't know it, and you want to use them as a babysitter, or this person's known for stealing stuff, right? Oh, I can't tell you that. You know, I'm going to listen, but I'm not going to believe it. Right? I'm going to be like, you know what? I don't believe this person actually steals something, but I'm not going to use them as a babysitter because I want to protect myself. Okay? But to accept it and to know in your heart for sure it's true, shu emet, asor b'chol davrei. That is totally forbidden. And next class, God willing, after, we are going to talk about speaking Lashon Hara for constructive purposes, number one, and number two, what actually causes Lashon Hara and how we can change our personalities in order to prevent it. Okay? And that'll be the Tuesday after Pesach and Mitzvah Hashem. Have a wonderful, sweet, amazing Passover and praying holiday.
Thank you.